Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm here in the studio with Alan Waters, who is a candidate running for state senate in the Cape and Islands district. He is looking to unseat the incumbent, Dan Wolf. We are focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. One of the races that will have a contested primary is the Cape and Islands Senate seat. 2 Republicans are running to unseat State Senator Dan Wolf, Alan Waters and Ron Beaty. The primary will determine which of them will appear on the general election ballot in November. Alan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Let's start with your background. Tell us about yourself, how long you've been on Cape Cod, what brought you here, and what you do for a living.
Sure. I've been a financial consultant for 32 years. I've worked for companies like Merrill Lynch and Charles Schwab and TIAA-CREF. Currently, I'm a broker with Mass Mutual in Hyannis. I'm 58 years old. I've married and have a family, 3 elementary school children. And I've been on the Cape, living in Mashpee since 2005, so it's a great place to be and raise a family. I'm originally from Providence, Rhode Island. Grew up in Providence. My mother and father were pretty strict. My father was a retired Providence policeman, also an Army Ranger, so I grew up on the straight and narrow on the streets of Providence, that's for sure. And I certainly bring the strong values that I was raised with to my family. I'm enjoying it here, and I want to try to make a difference for the voters of Cape Cod and the Cape and Islands District.
Now, you're running in the Republican primary. Tell me about your political philosophy and why you decided to run for state senate.
Very good. Part of my philosophy goes back to something more personal. I joined the Republican Party most recently after being an unenrolled or an independent voter for years, mainly because I thought that a lot of members in the minority communities, a lot of African Americans like myself, have been voting predominantly Democrat for a long time. And I started looking at how has liberal politics affected people of color, not just in this region, Boston, Cape Cod, but across America. And I thought that we could use a little bit more balance because conservative can be pretty cool too. It's a different philosophy, but it's something that I'm embracing because I think it can help a lot of people to move from the lower economic classes to the middle class, and a great way to grow America.
Now, tell us about your experience in politics or even civic affairs. Have you held any other office or been on committees, things like that?
The short answer is no, I've never. This is the first time I've ran for public office. I think it's just the right time because of my stage and just some of the life experiences that I've been through. Also, just being a financial consultant for so many years and helping people to achieve their economic dreams is something that is always a public service. I also have served on the board of the Cape Cod Children's Museum for a few years, so I have definitely tried to serve my community while working very hard at my profession.
Now, what do you feel are the biggest issues facing the Cape and Islands these days that you could influence if you were a state senator?
Well, I'll tell you, being a Republican in a predominantly Democratic state with such a great majority, it's very difficult to get some of the more conservative principles on running a society and running an economy. But that said, some of my key beliefs are reducing personal income tax from currently 5.25 to 5%. I'm definitely a fan of reducing the state sales tax. Prime example is if you've saved up your money to buy a $1,000 TV, today your income tax is $62.50. But if it was 5%, it would be only $50. And the big question is, what's better for the economy? The $12.50 in the consumer's pocket or into the general treasury, the revenue of the state? And I say that most people probably could do better with that money to stimulate the economy in their pocket.
So taxes, that's one thing. What about a lot of people on the Cape and Islands are concerned about the environment and particularly the wastewater issue? It's a complex issue. Have you studied it? What are your feelings about it?
I've had a chance to sit down with a gentleman who works directly as a consultant with the wastewater situation. And primarily, when you're talking about wastewater on Cape Cod, the people that are going to be closest to the estuaries and the bodies of water, they're going to need pipes. They're going to have a more expensive solution to keeping the different chemicals out of the environment. But the people further away, they might be able to do it with enhanced septic systems and other engineering to save money for the consumer as well as for the overall project. So I'm in favor of it. It's just that we need to lower our costs as much as possible by not just having sewage systems across the whole Cape, but using a smart and efficient way to do it.
Another issue people are talking about a lot these days, the issue of drugs on the Cape and its effect on crime and the quality of life, the problems with addiction. Any thoughts on those things?
First of all, the drug problem has not been solved in the United States of America through generations now. I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1956. I grew up when great change during the coming of age in the late 60s and early 70s when drugs became certainly more prevalent in society. When I think of drugs today, I think of the mere fact that still our drug policy, the war on drugs has not been a good solution. But we must continue to be vigilant with treatment. And I also like to say that I think that the people that do take drugs, they have a responsibility as well, because our desire on the Cape Cod and Massachusetts and America for illegal and illicit drugs is destabilizing government. So between law enforcement and people being more responsible for their own end, these are the type of things that I'm concerned about. So we haven't found that solution, and I don't think pouring more money into just incarcerating people is the answer. But today on this broadcast, a very complex subject, that's where I'd like to leave it.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. I'm here in the studio talking with Alan Waters, who is running for state senate in the Cape and Islands district. Alan, what are the key elements of your campaign platform? What are the items that you really want people to know about that you've studied?
Well, thank you. Before I go on, I just want the public to know that they can visit my website, and that's voteallen, ALLEN, Waters.com. I'm on Facebook, Vote Alan Waters. Also, you can see my Twitter feed at Alan R. Waters or at Vote Alan Waters. There's many ways to see how I'm doing in the campaign and to get some of my positions. That said, I would like to fight for lower taxes. I'd like to support the repeal. I am supporting the repeal for the automatic gas tax. I consider myself a middle-class Republican. I'm here to fight for the middle class. I am also a small business Republican. Republicans certainly sometimes get caught up into supporting very large business, very international businesses, but really on Cape Cod and Massachusetts, 85% of small businesses have 20 employees or less. That is where the economy is. We need to lower fees. We need to lower the cost of starting a new business. Gee, if you wanted to open a small retail shop or an ice cream shop or a little plumbing or anything, I believe that it should cost you almost nothing to sign up and incorporate yourself, at least for your incorporated papers at the Secretary of State's office, and it should be a very small cost every year to maintain it. Quite frankly, it should be zero. I think that small businesses shouldn't be taxed to $100,000, $200,000, name the figure, but we need more people to be able to get into business with a lower cost and lower tax along the way. I also stand for EBT reform, the cards that people receive. believe they should have identifications. We should do everything that we can possibly do to save money and make sure that the most needy get the benefits and the people that don't qualify go to work and do other things that are more important. So that's what being a conservative is all about, not to take away benefits, but just make sure that only the people who qualify are getting them.
Now, there are two Republicans on the primary ballot coming up on September 9th. What distinguishes you from the other Republican candidate?
Both Mr. Beaty and I are conservative. So that's something that there's no argument about. I believe Mr. Beaty wants to see the Cape Cod Commission changed. I believe that the Cape Cod Commission should stay the way it is. However, we need to make sure that they're more pro-business because the Cape Cod has to grow. It was there so it was created so that we would have controlled growth, but we can overshoot that responsibility. So I believe that the Cape Cod Commission should be enhanced from the inside just to make sure that we can have more business growth and also things such as more houses that are affordable on the Cape, more affordable housing. And so there's a lot of things that the Cape Cod Commission can do as it stands without having to dismantle it. I also believe that the education should be primary. Just recently, the Senate voted down the 5% for the charter schools. There are 40,000 students waiting in Massachusetts to get in charter school. In Boston, there's 15,000 or more students waiting to get in charter schools, and both the Senate and Mr. Wolf voted down the expansion of charter school funding by 5%. And I take that personally because charter schools have been shown to help the inner city minority students improve their grades. So I looked at as a definite affront to what's going on in education. So those are the type of things I believe in.
Now, you brought up affordable housing, a big issue on the Cape and Islands where none of the 15 towns on the Cape and neither of the islands have met that 10% goal that the state has for affordable housing. What about that issue? How do you feel about that?
I believe that every single town should be working strongly to meet its goal. You can't have two Cape Cods where we want the old Cape Cod but no growth so that poorer people or lower middle class folks won't be able to find the type of housing that they need. We need to at least go up to 10%. So that's affordable housing. Some of that might be Section 8 or maybe held for low income, but we also need to build houses that are affordable because the young professionals on Cape Cod also need to be able to purchase homes that they can afford to buy as they grow into and hopefully beyond the middle class for those that are most successful.
Another thing that comes up a lot around here is renewable energy. We have the Cape Wind farm proposed in Nantucket Sound and, of course, solar power all around the Cape. Any thoughts on renewable energy? Well,
I'm absolutely for renewable energy, and I'm for a mix of different types of energy, from the old-fashioned oil and natural gas to hydropower to solar to wind. I'm against Cape Wind. I believe that it's going to be built in the wrong place on Horseshoe Shoals. I'm totally against that. We're talking about 130 wind turbines out in the ocean, close to shore, about the size of Manhattan. There's a lot of mystery and to how it's going to be built, but most importantly, on one of the most beautiful bodies of water in the United States, the progressive left has decided to support. That's the place that they want it to be. And I'm totally against that. Perhaps we can build it in another place off the coast of Massachusetts. And by the way, it's a pretty big country. Just in New England, we have at around 500 miles of coastal shoreline. Couldn't there be someplace else that they could build wind turbines to help put that footprint of energy back into the grid? And the answer is, of course it could. So I look at it as the left slapping us and Cape Cod in the face because they just want to put it there. And believe me, there's not anything that can be built on the ocean that won't certainly go rust or fail at some point. Who's going to fix these things? I think it's going to be a boondoggle in its spot. Perhaps it should be somewhere else.
One thing we talk about a lot on Cape Cod, particularly this time of year, is tourism and the traffic that comes. A lot of talk these days in recent months about a third bridge. Any thoughts on that?
If we can find a way to pay for it, including fees such as tolls, then it should be built. Tourism is still our lifeblood. I'm from a small city, Providence. I know what traffic's like, but gee, in Mashpee, in the summertime, it's not that bad. And so, it's good to see the tourists. It's good to see people who love Cape Cod and want to visit Cape Cod and spend money here. And we want to make it easier for them, but we also want to make it easy for the people who live here and have to work in Boston and other places such as that. So I believe the bridge should be built as long as it can be financed properly without raising taxes.
And we only have a minute or so left. What would you like to leave voters with about you when they think about Alan Waters? What should they be left with from this interview?
What the people on Cape Cod, what the voters on Cape Cod and the Cape and Islands District should think about Alan Waters is what I'm bringing to the voters is something a little different this time. We have a middle-aged African-American conservative in assuming that I can win the primary, that's going to be facing a rich white liberal. And the question is, has the liberal policies in Massachusetts, has it made Massachusetts a better place to live? We have one of the best quality of lives, but we also have one of the least business-friendly environments in the United States. And sooner or later, we're going to cook the golden goose that lays those golden eggs, meaning a great Massachusetts. So a vote for me is a vote for lowering taxes, helping small businesses, helping the middle class get back on its feet with better, more quality jobs, and most importantly on Cape Cod, to use the resources properly so that more people can live here and grow businesses here. And that is the difference that I think is going to make a lot of sense to the voters.
A good summing up. Alan, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.